Well, welcome back to the Silver Savage podcast, Steven. How was your few days in Indiana? I wanted to say a week, but just a few days
It
ago.
was exhaustingly fun
Okay.
and worth it. I paid the price, but I went through, got the training done. My bag didn't give out on the way back, which I upgraded to comfort class.
Oh,
Don't worry, I paid for it.
no, that's fine.
I didn't put it on the company
I
card.
put you on coach. That's fine.
Yeah, you did.
And possibly in the
and I
smallest
and I
seat possible.
paid the price going there because let's just say I sat next to some rotund people.
Oh, well, sorry. And you flew Delta and not Southwest for a change. How was it in relation? 'Cause
Actually,
I'm flying Delta.
believe it or not, Delta, I love the security procedures for flying armed. Very strict about not putting bags in the conveyor belt, and you have to pick them up, separately. This is why I thought my bag didn't make it. There was nobody there to tell me that,
Interesting.
and I didn't see them put the tag on the bag that says "Do not put on the conveyor belt." So that was my fault. But again, small airport, so they didn't have an employee there to tell me that. Um, Aircraft super comfortable, even economy class super comfortable, free movies, all that good stuff. So
Cool.
I really enjoyed it, except the little tiny airplane connector flight to Evansville. I swear I think I had a training pilot because
Well, we got to learn somewhere.
right? That landing, I'm pretty sure we bounced 3 times before we hit the brakes.
I do find that smaller airplanes bounce more too.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just
No,
the way
no,
it
it
is.
was overall great. I can't remember the last time I flew Delta, but it was a pleasant experience. And again, their security procedures was spot on. I told them, I was like, I'm actually comforted by the fact that they didn't put those bags on the conveyor belt and stuff like that.
So we flew Southwest forever because arguably they were always on time. There weren't issues with flight. Bags were free, so it was always very convenient. And they live out of Baltimore. It's one of the hubs,
Right.
and they go to most places we need to. What I found recently is, first of all, they change all of their boarding procedures. So now instead of, even though we have their card and we fly along, whatever, we get boarding in like C group or whatever, which is super
Right.
annoying.
And that's another thing. Boarding was phenomenal. Like you board by cabins.
Yeah,
And
and you have your seat assigned. You
Yep.
can find out in advance.
Mhm.
So with Southwest, I'm like, you know what? It's time to upgrade the way we fly.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of research, and Delta and American came pretty high. Uh, for me, it was also international flight.
Mhm.
So
Which Delta is an
without
international.
exactly. So when I fly to Israel or fly other places, I can still use it. So I got a Delta card.
Oh, nice.
Um,
So build up points for that.
yeah,
So
exactly.
you can
Because
get
my
another
goal,
free honeymoon.
well, my goal is to start flying first class at some point, like
Okay.
those upgrades. I think the comfort associated with that, like you said,
Yeah.
arriving there and your back not killing you,
Yeah.
and
And the thing is, even like with Delta, because they have different levels of comfort, right? You start at first class and then it builds from there. But even, I guess you could call it economy comfort class is what I upgraded to. It was $30 more,
oh, okay,
and I was fine. I was comfortable.
that's
I had-
awesome.
I had plenty of space. I'm like, cool.
It's good to know. And what other element that I'm finding out just talking to people is the type of people that fly at different cabins matters. So, for example, as a business owner, who flies first class, right?
Right.
From a networking
I was
standpoint,
just about to say
just
that's an
hanging out with those-
opportunity.
right?
Yeah. On my way back, I actually sat next to a pilot, and he flies private jets,
Okay,
and I was telling him that
and it was my Delta.
Yeah.
That should tell you something.
It should. And I was telling him that I'm looking forward to my first flight lesson. And he no background in the military, nothing. He started the same way, went into a charter program and became a pilot, and he loves it. He was like a little kid describing everything about the aircrafts and why it shakes during turbulence, and which was funny because he was like, the plane has to shake because if it doesn't, it'll snap in half. I'm like, man, lower your voice a little bit. What else scares you? I'm like, I know that. I'm okay with it. I'm not afraid, but there's probably some people on this plane that don't want to hear a pilot saying that.
That is funny. Well, awesome. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad the feedback was phenomenal. I had no doubt that it would be. How was it teaching solo for the first time?
I'm used to it. But for Masada, I mean, you're representing a big name. We have a good reputation, so it's like maintaining that reputation. And for me, it was more not necessarily a teaching aspect because we can teach. It was more the logistics, right? Because typically we're running back and forth, helping each other, and I was trying to game plan in my head, working around this crazy weather. Thankfully, the hosting agency, Vanderbilt Sheriff's Department, phenomenal, and they helped in every way they could. So
Awesome.
it worked out great, other
Beautiful.
than the oppressing heat that sucked the life out of you. So
That's all right. And while you were out there running and gunning and having fun, I was getting my balls snipped.
yes, you
So,
were.
so we're going to talk about that today for all the men in their 40s. Well, you don't have to be in your
You don't
40s. I
have
suppose.
to be,
You can
but
be in your 50s.
typically it's like
So
that older.
statistically, I found,
Yes.
yeah, it's men that are 100% sure that they don't want any more kids, which is the boat I was in. And so we're going to talk about some medical procedures that, you know, us older
Lord,
men
I am terrified. I've been on one consult.
for vasectomy.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, this guy manhandled my nuts. I mean, I looked at the doctor, and I literally said, "Are you gonna take me out to lunch or something?" Because it was, I mean,
And no, I did one consult. It was super quick. It was a female doctor. She wanted to feel my balls. So she felt my balls. I had to tell Tyler. Tyler was, in the past I might have gotten jealous, but I'm good with it. Um, they want to make sure that they can feel the vas,
the best
so
evidence.
they can isolate it. And that was it. I finished the consult. They're like, "You want to schedule?" I'm like, "Sure." And then ask if you want a prescription for Valium. They can give you Valium, so you can take that the day off.
Oh, I so would.
Well, so I'm like, "Do I have to?" And she goes, "No." I'm like, "Then I don't want to because, me and medication, not a big fan." And, it's solely for anxiety. It's not knocking you out or anything, right? But it will calm you down. And then when I showed up for the procedure, the doctor said, "Did you take your Valium?" I'm like, "No, I didn't want any." He goes, "All right. Do you want nitrous oxide, like laughing gas?" I'm like, "Do I need to?" He goes, "No." I'm like, "Well, I don't want to." So the only part that I felt the procedure is
Is
when
the needle.
the needle for the anesthesia, and it was pressure. It wasn't like even
Mhm.
like a pain, right? It was pressure. Within seconds, it was done, and I was awake for the whole thing. I was talking to the doctor. We were chit chatting, and I was looking at him do it. I was trying to crunch up because I was laying down, so I didn't have the best view. The most real part is because they cauterize it.
Right, you could smell it.
Well, I didn't smell it. My sense of smell is all effed up, but I could see the smoke coming out of my balls. I think, well, that's a first.
Smoking balls.
Right.
Doesn't surprise me.
The biggest concern I had when talking to the doctor, so he goes, "So, within 24 hours, you can resume regular activities, but don't strain yourself." I'm like, "Okay, define regular activities, because I think my regular activities are not your typical regular
No.
activities."
Considering that I've seen your junk and the damage you've caused it, I would with that statement.
So, yeah, not allowed to work out for a week. So that was probably for me psychologically.
I know I'm laughing because I'm telling you not to work out.
So I haven't
It's like
worked out,
telling the Pope not to pray.
right? It was that is the hardest part, not to work out for 7 days. I can get working out on Monday, which I think my body is appreciating.
I can still see you on the couch, at least laying down, putting no strain on your entire body, and at least curling your wrist or something.
I've been doing mini squats all day,
Or putting weights on your eyelids, doing eyelid presses, just to say you got to work out.
and then you got to get a semen count 3 months later to make sure that really, because apparently it still travels down, and they want to make sure there really isn't any. Because they're like, we have people that don't follow the rules, or sometimes you just don't catch it all right, and they have vasectomy, they wait the time, but then they don't get that checked, and then 6 months later, the wife comes in and she's like, "What the fuck? I'm pregnant," right? And just because he still had sperm, they just never confirmed it. They just assumed 3 months are up, we're good to go. So he said you gotta get that sperm count down, but he goes, "It's 3 months and 20 ejaculations." I'm like, "Is it 3 or 20, or does it have to be both? Because I can get those 20 ejaculations in a week if you need me to."
Right.
And he goes, "No, it's gotta be both because there's a time component as well, not just I guess quantity."
What was one of the first things I told you? I said, you better be careful because knowing you and your super sperm, they're going to find a way to bridge the gap.
It's gonna be a breacher sperm.
Right? They're going to get a little rope bridge and cross that vast deference.
Right. That's the difference. I see what you did there. That's fun.
That's what it's called, isn't it? It's a vast deference.
Vast.
Whatever. It's my accent. Vast.
No, I like it. It's funny. Anyways, yeah, so that was done. Now I guess that was Monday. We're on Friday recording, so 4 days later, I'm pretty good. Low pressure in my lower abdominal area, kind of like when you get kicked in the balls and you feel it in your lower abs. But that's subsiding. The right side of my ball sack and my shaft is a minority, and the left side is all normal. So I'm not sure why by side, but it's not bad at all. I if you are done having kids, you don't want the risk or anything like that, then it's really as painless as it can be, super minimally invasive. And you know what? For us, it was not just that I was done. I'm 47 years old. I don't want having kids in my 50s or anything like that. So I don't want that risk. And they did say that from a prevention and protection standpoint, it is probably the most effective way of doing it, even more so than tying tubes for a female.
And that's traumatic for women too. Like,
Yeah, that's a true procedure.
yeah, and not only that, like when you mess with a woman's internal, reproductive organs, it changes her hormones, it changes her whole
Right.
disposition.
So for us, it said you wouldn't see a difference at all in your ejaculation. Like the consistency is going to stay the same, color, smell, everything will be the same. There's not going to be any difference. But we knew that we wanted Tyler to be off birth control again, just from hormonal standpoint. That's
Right.
also messing up with you.
Mhm.
So since we're done having kids, then if you're in that mode where you do not think you're gonna have kids again, and you want your partner to not have to worry about pills and other birth control, mechanisms, then I recommend it. No intervention is without risk, obviously, but so
Right.
are pills. I mean, that comes with a
Right.
risk. So
I think that's what I focused on too much. When I went to my consult, he was talking about like the what ifs, talking about how they can coil up to your body, and I'm like, oh boy,
the chances are so slim.
right? They're required to say it,
Right.
It's
It's so minute.
yeah.
No, so I'm happy I did it. Happy it's over. I don't have to worry about it again. And since this podcast is not just about vasectomies, what are some other procedures that men in our 40s need to go for? You just enlightened me about prostate exams. You told me it has to be 50 or older.
Yeah, so
I think my doctor's taking advantage of me.
probably I've had concerns, but typically if you have a history in your family, they'll do it prior to 50.
I think I started getting them done before they changed that. It was 40 at some point.
And typically when you join the military, you get one.
Get one in the military.
So neither did I, which was interesting because when I joined the American military,
They
right,
took my balls, not my ass.
yeah, you cough, all that good stuff. But so there was two lines, and there was one on the left, one on the right. And the one on the right, you could see these dudes were walking out defeated, like something traumatic just happened, right? And the one on the left, not so much. I was like, you know what? Let me jump on the one on the left, and they were getting the pinky,
Really?
yeah. The other one
I
didn't.
think that was strictly for USMC's entertainment.
Yeah, that was the Navy line, probably.
Oh, maybe. Those are all the submariners.
Yeah, that was the Navy line. I lucked out. I was in the Marine Corps line.
That's funny.
Yeah, so my doctor she's basically said if there was no history or any underlying signs, which I don't know what that would be.
Or if you have history of prostate cancers in your family, I guess, or other prostate issues.
Yeah, they'll check early.
Right.
So, which I don't have any history whatsoever from my father or my mother's side.
So my family on my maternal side has history of cancer, but it wasn't prostate, so I'm not sure.
And I think that's one of like the leading causes
For men.
Yeah. So it's important.
Well, obviously for men, women don't have prostate.
Yeah. So, now that we're down in the nether regions, that's definitely something I think men tend to neglect.
Yep. And it's one of those that if you catch early enough, actually pretty high recovery.
Yeah,
percentage.
I think it's one of the easiest treatable, but one of the most deadly.
Because people don't catch it in time or they ignore it.
By the time they're getting underlying symptoms, you're like at the final stages,
Right?
Because it's just so silent and underlying, and then it's too late.
Yep.
So
now I ask Nager, I go to for everything.
Yeah, I need to go to Dr. Nager. I do.
So he, aside from doing my testosterone and so forth, I use him as my primary care physician. So to get physicals, for me, a major concern is cardiac, because that I do have a history in my
Right.
family. And so he's been doing all kind of tests on that. And I asked him at some point if he's going to check my prostate. And he goes, not unless you want me to. I'm like, let me get back to you on that.
I don't know.
It's cute.
Dr. Pacheco is going to be my first. Pachenko.
Lisa Pacino.
Pacino.
Yeah, she's in Israel now. She's not
All right.
You're going to go there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to
I'm
get
going to
it.
do it off the book in the dark alley. I'm sure if she's licensed.
In the old city of Jersey.
Yes. I'm going to be a holy experience.
Yeah, it will be.
Penetrate my whole holy wood. You made me forget what I was going to say.
I don't know, but you're offended every religion out there right now.
That's all right.
That's
I'm
awesome.
used to it.
Yeah, it's all good.
I'm pretty sure all the gods are saying, I don't want him. I don't want him. I don't want him. I don't want him. So,
yep. You and I will get our own room somewhere.
I think all the gods are playing rock, paper, scissors as to who's going to get who. Even the devil's like, don't bring him down here. I got enough problems. What the hell was I going to say? It was medically. Oh, I think it was the Dr. Nager thing.
Where are you standing on testosterone? So
Thank you. That's what it was.
You're welcome.
Man, you read my mind.
Always.
So finally, going back to episode 1, right? We talked about testosterone. How I finally got my T levels checked. I am way below normal.
Right.
Like unhealthily below normal, where it's probably contributing to my mental health, physical health, the weight I can't lose around my abdomen. My doctor said I have a very good muscular physique, and even Dr. Hager said it. Like with one look, all that cortisol around your belly, that's testosterone related. And I didn't even get a checkup with him. I was just saying hello. Here's the problem, unfortunately, and I know this is a whole nother topic, right? When it comes to prescribing testosterone, my medical insurance won't cover it. I have to go through a series of other treatments before they'll approve actual testosterone treatment. So I won't say who, but a little birdie in the medical profession. And I hate saying this because, again, this just opens up a whole other can of worms. Basically said, if I identified as a woman and said I wanted to be a man again, they would prescribe testosterone. But in my current standing, having a legit medical need for it,
I love the system.
I can't get it, and I don't know if it has to do with abuse, because there are people out there that abuse testosterone and stuff like that.
Yeah, but they don't buy it.
No, they don't. So it's ridiculous.
Not insurance backed.
Right. And I've shown an actual medical need for it. And it's just been hoops after hoop after hoop. So right now I'm taking herbal supplements that help kind of cleanse.
So I will say that one thing I would always have utmost respect to Nager for is when he did my test and my testosterone came low, as you know, and we talked about in the podcast multiple times. He did not put me on testosterone immediately.
Right.
He wanted to find what is the root cause. And in my case, it was heavy metals.
Yep.
So we did chelation and we did supplementation before, which naturally took it up to within range, right? It didn't take it to where I wanted it.
But you wanted incredible Hulk level.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm not there yet. Or I was there, but then it went down a little bit because, they tried to tweak the dose. And it was really high. It got to like 1,300, which I thought phenomenal, right? But he goes, you're going to fly. Yeah, you're going to die of a heart attack. So he started toning it down and gradually went down. It also gets stored in your cells. So there's like a cumulative effect.
Okay. I didn't know
that. But yeah, last time I went in to get my blood work, he went down to, again, within range. I want to be the top range or above it. So we jacked it up a little more. And actually today at noon, I'm getting blood work done again. So I'm curious to see what it is. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling like it's back.
I've seen the disposition change, so I can attest from the outside in, because like even from working out your physique, I've watched you lose weight, I've watched you muscle, I've watched your whole routine get more sharp, so I can attest from the outside,
I appreciate it. It's huge. I'm a big fan. Somebody asked me recently on social media, they're like, well, we saw that you posted about it in the past, a year later, how do you feel about it? I'm like, if you are on the fence, talk to a doctor. Don't just do it on your own. But I am a big fan. If you're a man, our age group, and actually women too. Nager said that the majority of his clients on testosterone are actually female. Female also need testosterone.
Correct. Just like men have estrogen in their bodies as well.
Yep, I have a lot of estrogen. That's why I like to eat.
You do?
No, I don't.
Damn it. Check this out.
I
I put my own cream in my milk.
We talk about lactation, I hope.
Maybe. Hey, you gotta have protein in the morning too. You know?
That is true. Is it protein? I know it's a lot of zinc.
Well, you ain't got no protein anymore because you just cut off the freaking valve.
Yep, right. That's true. No nutritional value anymore.
You're 2% skim milk.
It's healthier. It's for the nutritionally conscious. Anyways, we died.
That went downhill quick.
Yep. So we talk about vasectomies, talk about prostates, we talk about testosterone. Another big thing for me. So I last time I did get a physical because of just a regular doctor, because there's some things that naked just can't do, like for example an EKG and stuff like that. So I did get a physical, and it's funny. I tell the doctor my medical history. Like I tell him about my tumor removal, I'm telling him about testosterone, I'm telling him about what I do for a living. And I hear him go out, and he goes to the nurse that's outside. The door is closed back there, and he goes, "This is a fascinating case." Okay, it is.
We've got a specimen.
So I have referrals also for two more things that are on my mind. We talked a little bit about the cardiac. For me, that's a big concern.
And for me as well, I suffer with high blood pressure.
Yeah, so just get that checked with a cardiologist. Doing genetic testing. So
yeah, that's a big deal. For me, a lot of my blood pressure issues are genetic, actually.
I have nothing to compare to, because obviously my father passed away from cardiac arrest, and my grandfather's, and I have no medical records to defer to. So I'm kind of like baseline, but I'm doing the testing, so hopefully my kids never have to. But if they need to, they have something that they can fall back
on, which is smart.
Yeah. So, but I'm getting that done, and then the other thing is actually dermatologist.
Yeah, I'm real big on seeing a dermatologist. I've had precancerous. I actually have one on my arm now, right there.
Dude, I can't see shit.
I see it and I feel it. It's a precancerous spot, a sunspot. But I've gotten my skin check, mapped out moles.
So I need to, because I always have a lot on me.
But that being said, idiots like us who are getting our skin covered with tattoos do pose an issue sometimes, because you start covering things up.
So I should do it sooner.
Probably. I did too. But there are precancerous spots you can get on your skin, which I have a lot of. Again, sometimes that can be genetic as well. But like I get what's called a subcutaneous cyst in my skin. Sometimes they're blood sacs and stuff like that.
But are those sun-related? Exposure related?
Those are not.
Okay.
But these on my arm, because when we drive and stuff, that whatever's most exposed to the sun. This is why sunblock's important and stuff like that.
Which I don't do.
Yeah,
exactly. And I grew up on the beach, not putting sunblock. I got burnt multiple times. I certainly have over sun exposure.
So that's one thing that I have gone and gotten checked. Even my wife, she actually had a map done of all her moles, and they'd have a visual map so they can see the changes and shapes and all that.
So I have a referral for a dermatologist, so I'm gonna follow up on that. I think that's important for everybody, certainly for our age, especially if they're in a profession that they're out in the sun. First responders, military.
That's another cancer killer. Which one is it? I can't remember. My wife had a huge chunk removed from her head.
Melanoma?
Yeah, but that's another significant killer of people that.
Yeah. So skin cancer, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So that's a big one. And then there are two more that people ignore that I heard about recently, and I made it a priority to get checked. So one of them is your eyes.
Yeah, I get every year. I get my eyes.
Yep. But apparently you can tell a lot about what goes on in your body from your eyes.
Yep.
And like from different types of cancers to blood pressure to all kind of stuff. So oftentimes the initial indicators of something going wrong would actually be in your eyes, which is I found fascinating.
Oh yeah, one of the things when I first started treating my blood pressure, I used to get a lot of ruptured vessels in my eyes. So it was like hey, something's going on. Right. It's not just from fighting and this and that, because when you're straining yourself, that can happen as well. But for me, it was what I realized. You just opened up another can of worms. I do cat cows when I'm sitting on the toilet. And it
loosens everything up.
Yeah, I do toilet yoga.
I think you're onto something. You should write a book.
I was on the phone with my buddies last night while I was pooping, which is not uncommon for us, right? We communicate on the pooper all the time. And I was doing cat cows. I was explaining to them, it just comes out like soft serve ice cream. Like you do some cat cows, it's almost like it's, compacting it, molding it. And it doesn't tear up your bottle.
Interesting.
which is another issue, right? Hemorrhoids and all that good
Yeah, I
stuff.
get hemorrhoids, man. Talk about Lisa Pacino, but I had to give her a middle of the night visit one time because I was in so much pain. And she literally comes into the room. She puts me in her kid's room on the bed. She comes with those like
Headlamps.
headlamps, right? Exactly. It's like she's going caving or something.
Oh yeah,
And she sticks her finger. And, yeah. And she goes, she pulls up her computer and she goes, "This is what you have." And she gave me the cream, and it was fine. But yeah, hemorrhoids suck. It's so uncomfortable. It doesn't
I've
hurt. Just
never had a significant one,
Oh.
that's turned dramatic.
Yeah.
So
No
because
fun.
I tend to spoil my butthole, so it tends to treat me well.
Well, that's because they get a lot of prostate exams that
No, and I pamper it, like wet wipes, and I always say like, if there was ever an apocalypse, that would be the end of me. Like when the wet wipes stop being produced, because I will die. I'll die of an itchy ass. I will shoot myself before I have itchy ass. I can't stand monkey butt.
really.
Oh yeah.
That's a line.
Between the military and now, like it drives me nuts.
For me, it's I need my feet to be dry. I can't have like my.
Damn, we're screwed. What kind of warriors are we?
We're gonna need to be in very dry conditions with a lot of baby
I'll
wipes.
be like in a pile of grass, and someone's gonna yell, "We're out of wet wipes!" Oh fuck.
So melanomas, cardiac, cat cow in the toilet.
Yes,
Um,
but that's important too. I think
Yeah.
we're horrible as men. We stay on the toilet way too long.
Dude, I
And-
get my work done on the
Oh,
toilet.
absolutely. I get ideas. I get most creative. I read a lot.
Yep.
But gravity has an effect
But.
on your butthole. Yeah, but gravity will tear your butthole up if you stay on there too long. So
100%. So yeah, that one. So we said eyes, and then the other one, the last one, is oral.
yes.
And-
Oh man.
Same thing. So aside from, I guess you can tell cardiac potential issues, or
Mhm.
actually, poor oral hygiene will get bacteria that would affect your heart.
Correct. Yeah,
So,
even your brain. I mean,
Yeah.
everything.
so oral hygiene and not just teeth and gums, but also your tongue. Apparently, if you get cancer in your tongue, that's one of it's very hard to come back from that one.
Mhm.
That would kill you.
No, yeah.
So, so I found I didn't see a dentist in probably a decade. I'm ashamed to say that. So I have an appointment next month.
Yeah, I
For the
go
first
every
time.
6 months. Every
Yeah.
6 months, I'm
No, it's part of the new me. I'm making that a priority. But
it's awesome. It's amazing what testosterone boost will do.
right, dude, I'm feeling healthy.
I got testosterone on me. I started brushing my teeth.
I also married a girl that's 20 years younger. I want to stick around for a little longer. So that is.
But
that's-
that goes to say something too, not to change topics, but when you're in that relationship, you want to take care of yourself for that other
Yep,
person, right?
100%.
You want to stay fit, you want to look good, that's how it should be
Yep.
theoretically.
I want to be able to enjoy life. So obviously, vanity has a lot to do with it. I'm a vain individual.
Yeah,
as
you
know.
are. Yeah.
And I want to look. I want to look good with her. I mean, she's a
Right.
beautiful girl. So when we go out, I don't want to be the ugly dude. That's an awesome looking girl, right?
Yeah.
But I want to be able to enjoy life. I want to be able to travel. I want to
Right.
be able to do things, right? And I don't want a decrepit body that is
Right.
incapable of doing that, right?
Right. And that's my struggle, right? With physical injuries. Thankfully, I'm working through them, building muscle and
Mhm.
working through it. But that's like my goal too, right? I want to be able to play with my kids. We both still have very young
Yep.
kids. We want to be able to chase them, play with them. That's my biggest goal. Nothing pains me more when I have to tell my kids, I can't play with you right now because my back hurts too bad or something like
Right.
that. And then I get off my butt, get into the garage, start slinging some kettlebells, strengthen myself up because a body in motion stays in motion. And man,
100%.
I can attest to that 100% because if I give in to those voices in my head, it's a downward spiral,
Right.
and not just mentally, but physically, right? You have to keep moving. You have to tell your body to keep pushing forward,
Yep.
Despite all the crap we got to deal with.
Yeah, and we're good at, ignoring pain to an extent, but taking care of our body certainly should take a priority. And, and in the long term is a better approach than ignoring stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for all the men listening and women for that case, but it's only start taking care of yourself. So just to kind of recap, we talk about vasectomies, talk about prostate exams, so all the fun stuff. We talked about skincare, we talked about eye and vision, we talked about oral,
Toilet yoga.
cat cow on the toilet. I'm gonna give that a try, man.
You should, man. I mean, I get a core workout, a back stretch, and soft poop all in one
Man,
sitting,
that's a trifecta right there.
right? While I'm reading. So I'm going
Quackfecta?
Quackfecta.
Dude, I seriously think you should come up with some poses, write a book, take pictures. Make sure you put pictures.
Oh, I think I'm going to kind of like that poop book.
Yeah,
You know,
maybe illustrations, maybe not actual pictures.
yeah, I'll do a sequel to it. You know, to the poop book. Read your poop, like how to relax your poop. You know,
Nice.
so
And on that note, until next time, stay savage.